I believe that ICP could be something special during this bull run. And how special? Hypothetically, maybe go into the price of $500 during this bull run. Now, even though that's not financial advice, some people may be wondering why. Here's the thing. I think the internet computer is changing the game as we know it, because we've all heard this narrative that, you know what, the internet computer could potentially rival Solana in terms of fundamentals, in terms of, being compared to Ethereum. People love ICP in some cases more than BNB, but I think sometimes there's something that's often overlooked, and that is a project called Chainlink. And when it comes to Chainlink, I get it. It's very massive. People think it's going to be even more massive, but I think the internet computer could potentially even rival that. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, how's that even possible? Chainlink, it's very well known for its decentralized Oracle network. That's very amazing. What makes you think that the internet computer, despite historically being compared to many layer 1 blockchains, how can that even be compared to something like that? Now, hear me out, because when we take a look at Chainlink, again, it's very well known for its decentralized Oracle network. But when it comes to the internet computer, it can actually allegedly connect Web 2 and Web 3 without oracles. So imagine that. Now, this kind of basically could maybe, in a theoretical sense, make something like Chainlink somewhat obsolete. It's not going to make it disappear, of course, because Chainlink has a very good use case. Adoption is fantastic. But I'm just saying, in terms of pure fundamentals, this could really rival that and maybe even make it a little bit useless in a theoretical standpoint of view. And let me explain why. Because if we take a look at an oracle, basically what that is that it's a data feed that brings data from off the chain, aka off-chain data, and brings that data over into the blockchain. The reason why this data is super crucial is because without this, many decentralized applications out there, they can't function properly. So of course, projects like Chainlink, like Pyth, for instance, they really do shine in that aspect. But again, if we take a look at the internet computer, on top of being regarded as a very amazing project that historically can somewhat rival, at least in terms of perception, like a Solana, like an Ethereum, but then also at the same time, even potentially rivaling a project like Chainlink, that's really amazing right there. And I think, people eventually, they're going to realize just how special something like the internet computer is. Because again, sometimes people don't really think about it in that way, but really, when I take a look at its fundamentals, I view it that way. And also, I feel like something that people kind of forgot about when it comes to the internet computer is that it has a very heavy emphasis towards decentralized AI. Now, people may be thinking, okay, take a look at these AI projects. They're not doing that good as of right now, despite the recovery. Take a look at this meme coin, take a look at this blockchain gaming project, whatever, right? But I think AI really is going to have a massive resurgence. But on top of just being focused on regular old, kind of boring AI, they're a computer, again, they're focused on decentralized AI. Now, why is decentralization so beneficial? It's because, just theoretically speaking, the more decentralized something is, the less susceptible it is to potential hacks and breaches. So, of course, that's very good. I mean, let's just put more of an example to this, right? Let's say I have like treasure, or should I say I have like some treasure, right? And let's say I want to hide it somewhere. Would it be more logical if I hid this treasure in 100 different locations or just one location in terms of potential safety? I would arguably say in 100 different locations, because if let's say it was only on one location and gets breached, then it's done, right? However, if it's, in 100 different locations, even if like 10 gets breached, who cares? There's still a bunch left. So then the way you take a look at it is that that's the way you view decentralization, because it's more spread out, theoretically in this analogy, right? The less susceptible it is to potential hacks and attacks. It's not centralized, you know what I mean? So this is how amazing it is. And I think the internet computer also really shines when being compared to something like Ethereum, because when we take a look at Ethereum, sky-high gas fees, it's arguably not even scalable, according to many people, has to rely on these Ethereum layer 2s. Ethereum, by the way, is very amazing as a layer 1 blockchain. It's doing very well as of right now in terms of price. So I'm not saying that Ethereum is bad or obsolete. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that the internet computer could potentially be better than that, because if we take a look at the pure figures, we'll see that allegedly for $1 worth of smart contract data on Ethereum, you can get around 44 bytes, which some people may think, oh wow, that's actually very impressive. But really, if you take a look at the internet computer, over 200 million bytes for the exact same price. So that's a total game changer. And enterprises out there, they care about this type of stuff. They care about cost savings, in my opinion. I think the key for me is to really believe in projects that haven't gained that mainstream attention yet. Because of course, the internet computer, it's a pretty big project. But when I ask usually people about, cryptocurrencies, ICP does not come to their mind. Usually they think about, something like Ethereum, Bitcoin, of course, like a Solana. they don't really think about, oh, ICP or like, Algorand or something like that, right? But I think that's the key, because if I believe in ICP after everyone's pretty much known about it, then it's going to become like a Solana status where it's already very massive. But I want to believe in it when it's relatively speaking not as massive yet. Now, some people out there seem to think, oh, if you like projects that are on the rise, why don't you go into a microcap? Here's the thing. I don't want to go into a microcap because I'm not looking for a 1000x. That's a little bit too risky for me. There's still always going to be risk. I'm totally understanding of that situation, but I don't want to be like a little bit too safe in a sense where I'm just believing in Bitcoin and Ethereum, in which case, could they do like a 3x from here? Let's say in the case of Bitcoin, sure, okay, I get that. That's a little bit less risky, but I'm not in the world of cryptocurrencies to look for that. You know what I mean? I didn't get in like 10 years ago. So what is a way for me to believe in a project that really hasn't achieved dinosaur status, but at the same time isn't a microcap? I think a good balance in between for me is something like ICP. The community is proven. It's very strong. It's very passionate. Good exchange listings, good fundamentals when it comes to the internet computer. Now all it needs to do is wait for liftoff, and I'm prepared for that because throughout this whole time, I've been dollar cost averaging, anytime an income, acquiring, holding, and just waiting. So really, the market's going to do what it's going to do when it comes to altcoins and also Bitcoin and Ethereum, whatever. But again, I can't control that. I can't control what happens to the market. I can only control myself. So anytime an income, acquiring, holding, and just waiting, that's it. And I'm just going to stay patient because keep in mind, $500 is currently around a 90x from here. I know that may sound a little bit like ridiculous, but really, if we take into consideration the market cap at that point, considering current circulating supply, would be around $266 billion. Now, why don't I think this is too much to ask for? Because let's say during a fully fledged bull run, let's say something like Bitcoin went to around the price of $300,000, and let's say the market cap at that point is around $6 trillion, and let's say Ethereum reaches around $10,000 in price. For the benefit of the doubt, let's say the market cap is around $1.5 trillion, right? So let's say combined, just from those two projects alone, in this make-believe scenario, that's 7.5 trillion. I'm not saying including XRP, XLM, Solana, BNB. Again, I'm just saying those two projects during a fully fledged bull run, let's say. Now, 7.5 trillion, that's a very big amount because even in a trillion, that's already 1,000 billion, and in a billion, that's 1,000 million. So that's kind of crazy. So again, let's say out of 7,500 billion, why can't around 266 billion flow into this? This is just the way I take a look at it, especially during a fully fledged bull run. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. But the way I take a look at it is that it doesn't seem that ridiculous to me because I think ICP is very revolutionary. I think by the time this bull run's over, because there's of course going to be the end to it, but of course I'm still going to be here to talk about it throughout this bull run, right? But even besides that, even despite the bull run ending eventually, which I do believe hypothetically will, but I don't think it's going to end right now, of course, but I'm just saying, when the bull run's over, I think ICP is going to be viewed as in the same regard as a Solana, as a, something like in the class of BNB. I really do believe that. Now, only time will tell, but really, 2021, guess what projects became mainstream? Like a BNB, like a Solana, of course, Terra Luna, but of course that went off into the abyss. But I don't think that's going to happen here, of course, but hypothetically, right? But this is the way I take a look at it. I think that once this bull run's over, this is going to gain that mainstream status. And not to mention, I don't think this is too much to ask for, but I would only stay patient. That's it. The market's going to pick up when it wants to pick up, but I don't think the peak is anywhere close, like in a week or whatever. I don't think so. I think that, there's still ways to go here, and I'm still staying patient. And keep in mind, the journey to the top, it's not going to be smooth sailing. There might be multiple pullbacks on the way, but I don't mind because I'm dollar cost averaging anyways. I'm not trying to outsmart the market every single day or whatever. So I'm just accumulating, holding, and just waiting. I think that's more safe for me, even though I'm not telling anyone to buy ICP. But again, $500 when it comes to ICP wouldn't surprise me whatsoever during this bull run, and that's why I'm still continuing to buy. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch you all on the next one. I'm a peace. Bye.